And of course, I think many of us may be aware, but I think to ground everyone, I'd like to just share a little bit about who Deborah Eden Tull is. And, we have full lives, so there's only so much that an intro can offer, but I'll do my best as we have more people continuing to join. So Deborah Eden Tull is a founder of Mindful Living Revolution and is a Zen Buddhist teacher, an author, and a spiritual activist who's been teaching for over 20 years. They're a former Zen monastic. She brings a deeply embodied approach to Dharma that weaves together relational mindfulness, post-patriarchal wisdom, and our interconnectedness with the more than human world. Her work invites us to transform our love and grief for the world into compassionate collective action. And so, with that, I give you Deborah Eden Tull.
Thank you, Deshawn, for welcoming us so warmly. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. And as I'm looking at what people have shared in the chat box, I'm feeling a lot of gratitude, not taking for granted the opportunity to pause in our days, to come together in this way for practice, for conscious community. And I think before we begin today, just to presence and open our hearts to the sobering nature of this moment in time, the unprecedented intensity, the degree of collective uncertainty. And so seeing this opportunity to come together for practice and to connect heart to heart, okay, to connect human to human, to connect with the intention of collective liberation. This is an extraordinary expression of our agency, in this time. And I hope something that helps to resource you today, that also helps to resource me. The way I like to approach teaching is holding while being held. That none of us in this age of so much to hold ever attempt to do so alone. Okay, so maybe as we settle in and before our meditation, just pause and rest the eyes for a moment. Allowing for a couple of deep, full body breaths. Just calling in your own way. Any allies of the visible or invisible that you want to include in your circle of support and practice today. And for me, presencing with gratitude the lineages of Soto Zen, Eihei Dogen, the 12th century founder of Soto Zen, whose teaching on deep time I'll center for us today. Deep time and slowing down as a revolutionary act. Yes, even and especially amidst a time that feels so urgent. Yeah. And I'll presence the lineage of great Earth Gaia as our most essential teacher. And so I'll draw upon eco-dharma teachings and embodiment teachings today. And I'll call upon the spirit of Joanna Macy, mentor of mine since I was early 20s, about 30 years ago, who passed this summer, and who also was a great advocate, a great loving representative of deep time. Okay. Part of me being resourced today and what's holding me as I hold community today is the land where I'm spending this spring on the unceded territory of the native Hawaiian peoples. Land that is currently very much through a group of people here and Dharma teachers here being cared for and stewarded through a process of healing, healing from colonialism, healing from decades of sugar, cane, raping and pillaging the land, recovering in the ways we're all recovering from collective trauma and from the historical legacy of the trance of separation guiding much, not at all of human consciousness for a very long time. So as you settle in today, please allow yourself to find the most comfortable posture that allows you to be both relaxed and attentive, wakeful at the same time. I am meeting my meditation standing today as I'm navigating a bit of an injury. I like to encourage people to please drop any concepts or ideas you have been fed about the right meditation posture in order to instead listen deeply to your earth body and let yourself be guided into a posture of coming home. Okay, a posture that supports this coming home. I'll be guiding our meditation now, and then we'll move into some Dharma reflections. And then perhaps what I consider the richest part, opening it up to connect with each other, to see what's alive here in the field, reflections and questions. So in Zen, we always begin meditation with the contemplation of how do I choose to take my seat in the here, in the now. So finding your posture, taking your seat physically, metaphorically, which means to show up wholeheartedly to the moment. Please invite the eyes to either rest closed or open in a soft gaze, not active through the eyes, but relaxed, receptive, nothing to do. Gently scan the body mind. Inviting yourself to transition consciously from whatever you are just engaged in and whatever pace you were moving in this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending upon where you are. Inviting any place in the body where there's unnecessary holding, tension, or efforting to soften. Let's bring awareness to our relationship with gravity and the ground below. And just see if you might sink down 10% more in to that support, the sacred field of gravity, inviting us to soften and ground. And here, let's receive 3 of the slowest and deepest breaths we've taken today. Noticing your own meeting point to and interpretation of whole body breath. As you allow breath to return to its natural organic rhythm. For this meditation, just let breath, body, and deep listening within and out offer a gentle anchor. We'll call this the Trinity of awareness. And with nothing to do or solve, nothing to fix or change, nowhere to get to, nothing to strive for. Just allowing ourselves to rest in darkened stillness. Allowing ourselves to soften into being. Being with what is as it is. You might notice with welcome and curiosity. What's moving through the inner landscape today? Just welcoming thoughts, welcoming sensation, emotion, energy, vibration. Welcoming the deeper undercurrents in your heart today. Equally welcoming the sounds, energies, vibrations, feeling tone of the space surrounding you. As we rest for a few minutes in quietude, just being curious about where physical body seems to end and the space surrounding you begins. As we continue, I'll guide us through a meditation on the elements. An experiential inquiry into the elements, which supports us to become more open to deep time, the nonlinear time that exists always. It's always here, beyond concepts and ideas, beyond a kind of perception that habitually holds time as separate from us, like passing us by. Time is something to keep up with. So just notice, just be aware of the natural pace the natural rhythm and flow of your breath breathing you right now. If breath is a difficult touchstone for anyone, just see if you might allow deep listening to whatever sounds are moving through the space you're in. To help you inquire into your natural pace. And with the next inhalation, just let yourself bring awareness and curiosity to the earth element within your body-mind. Just noticing, no effort required, noticing the stability of body, the experience of groundedness. Notice sensation of clothing touching skin, weight of body supported by the surface you are meditating on. This is not a rigid or static stability. It's grounded presence through which we can experience the dynamism, the multidimensionality of life. So grounded presence, stability, through which we can deeply listen to life as it unfolds moment by moment. And this is a very basic definition of meditation: to listen to life as it unfolds moment by moment. With your next inhalation, please gently bring awareness to the element of air, space in the body. Consider the reciprocal interplay just as you breathe, inhaling and exhaling. The reciprocal relationship with Mother Earth, the very oxygen we breathe, the Earth's forests and oceans, rivers and phytoplankton, the stardust that makes up the Earth. Feeling the massage of breath from within, and really inquiring into the exhale. allow an inquiry into space and air within you. Support you to empty a little more. Support you to let go a little more. As you become more aware of the space between each breath, the space between the vertebra of the spine, as you give your soma, your body, permission to just settle a little more. Can you notice the space between thoughts? Just like clouds, right? Moving through the sky. The sky is pure space. Can you know yourself as this space? Sky-like awareness. As we continue with your next inhalation, be curious, friends. About the water element naturally, organically moving through you. Humans, at least 70% water. The water of saliva and blood, cerebral spinal fluid, urine, the water of our tears. Maybe we could say in these times, the water element as a slow moving but ever present river of grief that humanity is feeling right now, as so much life on earth is under threat. As we bear witness to so much profound harm caused through greed, hate, and delusion. Allow for another conscious breath, friends, and just notice. Be open to how water element can help us connect more directly to our own fluid nature, our capacity to flow, our capacity to allow rather than push against the river of life, to know ourselves as part of the universal flow and not separate. Give yourself permission as we continue to presence the invitation of slowing down into the natural flow of time. Again, to meditate is to listen to life as it unfolds moment by moment, not to listen as separate from no doing or effort required. Listening to the pulse of life as the pulse of life. And with the next conscious breath, becoming a little more attuned now to the fire element within you. The warmth of fire, the ignition of fire, the inspiration of fire. Maybe just be curious right now, in addition to perhaps feeling your respect for the bodily systems that involve fire element, like your digestion. Fire as symbol, as metaphor for the ignition required to travel the path of awakening for all beings. The fortitude, the stick-to-itiveness, to say a wholehearted yes to this moment. Maybe notice right now if that fire within you is the fire of soft, gently burning embers, that warmth. Or maybe today it's a large, voluptuous bonfire. Just notice. And let that go. One more deep breath. And if it would feel kind, please rest hand on heart or belly or both. As we connect with one more elemental, and I invite you now to connect with the elemental darkness. This is the yin, receptive energy within you. This is the mystery, the unknown, the unformed, the unseen, the invisible. This is our portal to connecting with the ethers. Just let yourself feel for a moment. Respect for what I call the luminous darkness, the mystery with which our entire life is held, our entire existence, far beyond concept mind, the mind that labels and measures, compares, weighs. In this place, and before we bring our formal meditation to a close, take a moment and offer yourself, this being, any form of respect, of compassion, of reassurance, of affection that is needed medicine today. Even if it's as simple as, through all of it, through whatever unfolds today, tomorrow, through whatever is here and now emerging in this moment. I am right here with you. And so, friends, quietly and with eyes still resting, please gently bring awareness back again to the element of the earth, the unique way your body-mind is being held, supported, is feeling groundedness, stability, resting in the place you are meditating today. And before I invite you to gently open the eyes and connect first with the natural light before returning to the screen, I invite us to just quietly greet one another with eyes still resting, perhaps sending your well wishes to those gathering here today in conscious community. And just as we started today, to feel the appreciation, the gratitude, the respect for getting to come together in this way from different places, different points in time, on behalf of all beings, for this practice which is both completely ordinary, it is just our nature, and equally extraordinary. To remember who and what we actually are. So please begin now to open the eyes, to take a moment for the eyes to adjust. Before meeting the screen, if it feels natural, palms together. And again, thank you for being here. For anyone who was late, I'm Eden. And I would like to share a few reflections, just brief today, just brief, about deep time, okay? About slowing down as a revolutionary act. And I hope that meditation gave you a little more direct experience today of slowing down, perhaps of your authentic pace, beyond the ways the conditioned mind perceives time as other than us, as something separate, something we need to keep up with, something passing us by. There's a beautiful quote by Lao Tzu. It says, "Nature does not hurry and yet everything is accomplished. Nature does not hurry, and yet everything is completed, okay? It's significant that this is the topic when I was meditating earlier this morning on what I wanted to bring here today. This is the topic that bubbled up loud and clear at a moment when there is so much complexity, so much grief to be with and metabolize, so much unknown and uncertainty, and also an urgency and anxiety that the state of the world can trigger in us. I'm very clear as a longtime meditator, as a teacher of over 25 years, as a spiritual activist, that for me, the most important starting point is getting clear on my perception lens, clearing my perception lens. And this means dropping from the urgency, the forward leaning, the disembodiment, the attachment to concepts and ideas as my orientation to life, and coming into more deeply my earth body. And this is where the direct experience of deep time is here ready to meet us if we are. I know that from this place called deep time, which I'll say more about in a moment, very naturally, through a larger attunement to life and recognition of interbeing, of non-separation, I can then respond to what is arising, to the intensity, to the complexity, to the inner landscape, to all of it with much more skillfulness and much less harm. So Ehe Dogen, 12th century founder of Soto Zen, who spoke of meditation often as coming back to relational presence, going from the orientation of me-centeredness and mine and separate from, to what many of us know through the language of interbeing, okay? Our non-separation from the all that is. He spoke of meditation as a coming home to original consciousness. So getting to disentangle from the overlays of, again, conceptual mind. And this includes the conditioning that we've received on so many levels, the mind of separation, the stories and narratives of perhaps the society we grew up in, the narratives from family, religion, media, all of it. And so we could say that we have a very interesting relationship with time in the dominant paradigm, okay? It's speed, race, winner takes all, from individualism and capitalism, and a sense of separation from the deep pulse and rhythm of Mother Nature. Got to get there as fast as I can. Often when we come to a meditation practice, one of the first things we come up against is, oh, my mind seems to be habitually going at such a fast pace. Or, oh, I'm so used to trying to keep up. And I haven't investigated the stories underneath that belief so I can be freer. So deep time describes the state of spacious, non-dual awareness that a meditative life makes available. This state can only be entered through a doorway that takes us beyond conditioned beliefs, away from the knowing of the small mind and into the knowing of direct experience, the deeper knowing or relational forms of knowing, of the intuitive, receptive, and attuned to life earth body, okay? Deep time is spoken of by Dogen and in a beautiful set of teachings some of you may have explored before called Uji, being time. Being time as it unfolds moment by moment. Being time, we get to remember the time that is boundless. When we're fully present, when we're just resting and being, we get to be time, okay? And Joanna Macy had a lot to add to this for anyone who's experienced the work that reconnects, another field of work that I also facilitate for helping people transform pain and love for the world into compassionate action, pointing it to it also as geological time, perhaps noticing with the Earth's changes that are happening even right now, what might shift a little bit in our psyche when we recognize the briefest glimmer of time in the wider expanse through which we've been here, the briefest glimmer through which the current geological formations have been in place, and just letting it widen our perception lens. Let's pause and take a conscious breath, acknowledging that on a practical level, the sacred pause is one of our greatest allies for living in deep time, pausing as often as we can. And so many of us have a story of not enough time. It's loud in the psyche. And meditation can help us to drop this and to remember that it's not that time simply flies away. That when we rest here, as Dogen said, for the time being, we rest in all beings' time, a deeper connectivity. I want to pause and just see if there's any reflections today, any questions. Today I wanted to guide longer meditation and shorter period of exploring. But if there's anything that would support your practice, let it be known. Reflections or questions on today's topic. And just to be transparent with the group, because I find it humorous, I actually thought that we had a little more time left, but I happen to be in perimenopause. And what that means is my eyes are quickly changing. And so I think it's perfect that we actually get to just be in the flow today, which was my overall intention. But we still have about 6 minutes or so. Do I see a hand anywhere? Any brave souls? Deshawn, is it fine? I think it would be for people to also post a question or reflection in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. Please feel free to write in the chat any questions or thoughts that come up, or physically raise your hand or use the raised hand button to indicate you like to speak.
I see someone appreciating the element of darkness. Yeah. And so the third book I wrote is called Luminous Darkness, an engaged Buddhist approach to embracing the unknown. And given what unknown times we are in collectively, given how much darkness, right, is being revealed collectively, I really recommend that book. It's a good guide for how to meet these times. Yeah. Whether or not people bring your voice in today, I want to ask everyone just in your own way to consider the inquiry, like, what is a story about time that has caused suffering in your life? What has a story or core orientation to time been that's caused suffering in your life? And, this is a place where if anyone's willing to put that in the chat box, we could make note.
We do have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah. I'll have people reflect on that and we can also move into this question.
Hmm.
Whoever
So,
has a question, you're welcome.
Jennifer put in the chat, what if you feel like you have too much time because you aren't so busy at the moment?
Thank you. What if you feel like you have too much time because you aren't so busy at the moment? Well, gosh, that sounds kind of fun to me. Um, as someone who currently has a very full plate. But what I'd like to say is, if we're in a story that there's too much time because we're not busy at the moment, we might want to compassionately investigate how we are orienting or relating to the time we have. The separate self, the ego, stands outside of life, looking in, constantly assessing, judging uh, everything in our life, whether there's the judgment of not enough time or whether there's the assessment of too much time. That's the ego pushing against life rather than the opportunity to actually, the core part here is come into embodiment where we know time as a moment by moment unfolding, where there is no pushing against any of it, where if there's more time, then that's more time to spread out, we might say, into the living process of being in this body, the living process of engaging with whatever is urged to engage with. If it's a tighter amount of time, okay, or a smaller amount of time, then we get to drop into flow. Many of you, I hope, here know the place of mindfulness doesn't have to be slow, but mindfulness is about flow. When we have more space, we can enjoy the mindfulness of much more spacious motion. And when we have less space, we can enjoy being in the flow. There's a chapter in my book about relational mindfulness where I talk about mindful juggling. Because when I was the head monk at the monastery where I trained, which means managing the entire operation, not something I wanted to do, but something I was asked to do, I had to learn really to flow. People with me? Can I see some nods if you know what I'm pointing to? Yeah. So it's very much about noticing whatever our story to time is, which is why I asked you to identify that, and practicing, like, who would I be? What would I be here? Free from that story. Because whether or not you're aware of it, the quality of our life experience is determined by the focus of our attention. And if it's on a story that we were fed, rather than the possibility and potential of reality, there's unnecessary suffering. Deshawn, I'm aware that you might have an announcement or two to make. And so I want to just let people know, my next retreat is in Big Bear starting July 31st. It involves meditation, inquiry, and conscious movement. Sometimes I teach through sitting meditation as well as movement and dance, but you don't have to be a dancer to attend. Two incredible co-facilitators, Enrique Colazo and Charlie Corda. And before I give it to Deshawn, I just want to say thank you for being here. And I want to dedicate the merit of our practice together to all beings across time and space, visible and invisible today, and especially to the shared intention of peace at a time of so much fragility in our world. Thank you. Deshawn.
Thank you so much for that beautiful practice, Eden, and the messages that you shared, the questions, the contemplations. Truly appreciate it. Um, I just want to thank everyone again for being here, for taking time to be present with yourselves, to be present with us all. It is truly